Guzangpo everyone. So today we are going to be presenting the solution for July's OMB question. So the question says, O is the center of the semicircle and area of the square OEDF is equal to 15 square units, and we are asked to find the length of BC. So the first thing that we are going to do is find the side length of the square. Now we calculate the area of the square as side squared, so the area is given as 15, so we can square root on both the side and get the side length of the square as root of 15. Now we can see that this is a semicircle, so in a circle, from the center to any edge of the circle, we know that is the radius of the circle. And we can also see that O to D is also the radius of the circle. So if we draw out the triangle O, D and F, you can see that we can find O to D because we know the two side lengths of the square, that's root of 15, and there's a special right triangle property that states that if two side lengths they are equal, then the hypotenuse will be equal to x root of 2. So in this case, the length or the radius of the semicircle would be simply root of 15 times root of 2. So we can say that the radius is equal to root of 30. Now, what's the purpose behind finding this radius is because now we can find the length of BE. So if you draw out the triangle here again, this is another triangle, B, E, and O. O to B is the radius of the circle, that is root of 30. And O to E is nothing but the side length of the square, that is root of 15. Now we simply have to find B to E. Now in this case, we can use the Pythagoras theorem over here, that's present over here. So B to E squared would be equal to root 15 squared plus root 30 squared. So the square and the root cancel and we get 15 plus 30 BE squared. And we know that is equal to 45. And if you were to square root on both the sides, we will get length of BE as root of 45. Now we found the length of BE, but our task is to find the length of BC. So we know that BC is equal to BE plus E to C. So we have the length of BE, but how can we find E to C? So we can see that B to C is a line. So keeping this in mind, we can use the PowerPoint theorem. So what the PowerPoint theorem states is that if we have two lines that's intersecting at the common point, let's call this point P, and let's say that let's call this line L, and let's call this line as M. Let's say that the line L meets in H A and B, and as for line M, it meets on H C and D. So according to PowerPoint theorem, it says that P to A times P to B of line L is equal to P to D times P to C of line M. So we can see that the common point here is the point P over here. So similarly, what we are going to do now is write a complete circle because this PowerPoint theorem applies with respect to a complete circle, whereas we have only a semicircle over here. So if we do a simple sketch, we already have the line B to C over here. So we need to find another line. And here we have the point E. So we can draw this line over here because it also intersects with the common point E. So let's call this point as M and let's call this point as N. Now we know that we have a square over here. So we know the radius of the circle, that's root of 30. This length would be equal to root of 30. This is the side length, that's equal to root of 15 of the square. So we have two lines now, line MN and BC. So we can use this PowerPoint theorem to come up with another formula, that is B to E times E to C is equal to N to E times E to M. So we can see that we already know the value of BE, that's equal to root of 45 times, we don't know E to C because that's what we are trying to find out right now. So N to E, what would be the length of N to E? We know the radius of the circle is root of 30. So if we simply take away root 15, we will get the value of NE, which means takeaway means we are subtracting root 15 from root 30. Now what about e to m? So we know that e to m is simply root 15 plus root 30. Root 15 plus root 30. Now we can see that this is in the form of the algebraic expression a plus b times a minus b. So we can rewrite it in the form of a squared minus b squared. So root of 45 times e to c. And as for the right hand side, when we simplify it, so the a we can take it as root of 30 and b we can take it as root of 15. So if we square both of them, we will get 30 minus 15, and that is equal to 15. And if we take root of 45 to the other side, it will get divided. So root of 45 is equal to EC. Now we found the length of EC and we already know the length of P. So now we just simply add them. So we have root of 45 plus 15 by root of 45. And when you simplify this addition, the final answer that we will get is 4 root of 5 units. So this is how we find the length of PC. Thank you.